Every interaction is a test, and most men stumble before they've even said a word. Not because they're cruel or dismissive, but because they come across as predictable, ordinary, forgettable. They lean on politeness, play it safe, ask standard questions, and then wonder why she forgets them the moment they walk away.
Here's the reality. Women today aren't stirred by politeness alone. They're captivated by presence, by the pull of tension, by the sense that a man can see into them and lead the conversation with clarity and confidence. Pay attention. Machiavelli never wrote a manual on seduction, yet his understanding of human nature makes him one of the greatest teachers in this arena. He grasped something most men don't, that people follow those who create emotional weight, those who bend the gravity of a moment. And in a world where women are bombarded with compliments, flattery, and shallow attention, the man who speaks with depth and precision is the one who makes her pause, feel, and surrender emotionally. This guide will show you 7 communication shifts every powerful man must master. Not to amuse her, but to lead her, to spark tension, to interrupt her usual mental patterns, to rewire her until she craves your presence, your influence, and eventually your touch. This isn't about memorized lines. It's about verbal control, subtle, precise, unforgettable. Let's begin. Shift 1. Speak to plant, not to finish. Most men speak in straight lines, question, answer, next topic. Their words aim to complete a thought, not to create intrigue. A magnetic man, however, speaks in curves. He hints, he suggests, he pauses. He allows silence, tension, and contrast to linger without rushing to resolve them. When you speak like a puzzle instead of a packaged message, she leans forward. Confusion turns into curiosity, which turns into anticipation. And that anticipation is everything. Modern women are surrounded by noise, endless texts, posts, podcasts. But what they secretly crave is the space between words, the unspoken tension, the quiet that makes their imagination run wild. Machiavelli would say true power belongs to the man whose meaning must be uncovered, not explained. So don't rush. Speak with presence. Leave half unsaid. When she feels she must decipher you, she invests. And once her mind is hooked on the mystery, her body follows. Shift 2. Leave anchors in her mind. Here's how you go from being interesting in the moment to unforgettable. Don't just aim for laughs or charm. Plant emotional anchors, memorable seeds that grow long after you've left. Say something basic and she forgets. Say something extreme and she resists. But say something slightly off-center, something that bends her perspective, and it echoes later. Challenge a belief, highlight something in her she's never noticed, or twist a thought just enough to stick. You don't debate. You don't over-explain. You drop a thought and let it linger, and later, brushing her teeth or lying in bed, it resurfaces. That's obsession. That's influence. Machiavelli would have whispered, "The strongest effect comes not in the moment of speaking, but in the silence afterward." So don't try to be memorable. Instead, plant ideas. Let her imagination carry them forward. Once her mind fills the blanks with her own thoughts, you've already won. Shift 3. Redirect. Don't defend. Smart, modern women will test you. They'll question, tease, disagree, or mock. Most men either defend themselves or fold to avoid conflict. Both lose ground. A man with presence never argues, never explains himself into a corner. He redirects. He listens without reacting, then calmly moves the conversation where he wants it to go. This is frame control through redirection. You don't resist her frame. You don't validate it. You replace it. Example. She says, "That's arrogant." Most men argue or apologize. Instead, you smile. "Maybe, but tell me, how do you usually handle it when people don't respond the way you expect?" Suddenly, the spotlight is back on her. No resistance, no defense, just elegant redirection. Machiavelli would have said, "Never meet opposition with noise, reshape it with definition. Expect to be challenged. Welcome it, but meet fire with ice." Calm tone, steady body, focused eyes. That steadiness earns respect. That's what turns tension into trust. Shift 4. Tell stories that transport. Most men talk about themselves, jobs, opinions, past relationships. Few ever transport her into another world. That's your edge. Don't just inform, immerse. Tell stories not to impress, but to pull her into your emotional world. When you do, her guard lowers and her body mirrors your feelings. Don't explain lessons. Paint them. Instead of saying, "My divorce taught me independence," you say, "I remember standing in a freezing apartment, nothing but a mattress on the floor, realizing I could rebuild everything from scratch." One is explanation, the other is immersion. Machiavelli would have said, "Control her imagination, and you control her heart." So build a small collection of powerful personal stories, visual, emotional, authentic. Tell them slowly with gravity. That's when her breathing changes, her posture softens, her body leans in. That's when she wants to be closer. Shift 5. Let silence do the work. Most men overshare, oversell, overexplain. They think more words equal more value. The wise man knows mystery is stronger. Instead of filling every gap, drop half an answer. Pause mid-thought. Leave things unsaid, not from uncertainty, but from calm control. Silence creates curiosity. Curiosity pulls her closer. She starts asking questions, chasing the conversation, filling the gaps with her imagination. That isn't manipulation, it's magnetism. Machiavelli would say, "The man who reveals himself completely gives away his power." Leave her hungry for the rest. So practice silence. Answer briefly and pause. Hold eye contact a second longer. Let her body feel the weight of unspoken tension. That's what she remembers. That's what keeps her hooked. Shift 6. You are the prize. Here's what almost no man does. Show her without saying it that your attention is rare, not automatic. This doesn't mean tearing her down or disrespecting her. It means waiting, observing, withholding judgment until she shows you who she truly is. Most men rush to validate, "You're gorgeous," "You're amazing," before even knowing her. But the man with standards holds back. He lets her wonder, does he like me? Am I impressing him? What does it take to earn this man's respect? And in that wondering, she invests. She shows more of herself. She works for your approval. She values your praise because it isn't given freely. Machiavelli would have said, "The hardest won privilege is the most desired." So don't hand out compliments like candy. Let her feel she must earn them. That shift flips the entire dynamic, and suddenly, she's chasing you. Shift 7. Upgrade her mind. This final shift goes beyond flirting, beyond seduction. It makes you unforgettable. You become the man who sharpens her thinking. Not by lecturing, not by arrogance, but through how you see her, how you listen, how you ask questions others never dare. You challenge her gently with curiosity. You notice contradictions in her words and reflect them back without judgment. You share experiences from your life that mirror hers, making her struggles feel lighter. In that moment, you're no longer just a man she's attracted to, you're someone she wants to grow with. That's what women truly crave but rarely find. Not another guy who calls them sexy, not another man trying too hard to impress, but a man whose presence makes them think differently, whose silence makes them wonder, whose steadiness makes them feel safe to expand. Machiavelli would say, "The man who sharpens her mind sharpens her desire." So listen more, and when you do speak, say something that cuts through the noise. Ask why she believes what she believes. Reflect her thoughts more clearly than any mirror. That's what makes you unforgettable. And when she walks away thinking differently about herself, when your words echo in her head the next day, that's when desire sets in. Not because you tried to be memorable, but because your presence rewired her thinking. At that point, you no longer chase. You don't need to. You've left behind the habits of men who overshare, overplease, and overcompensate. Instead, you embody what women rarely admit they crave. A man with gravity. A man who speaks less but is listened to more. Who moves slower but makes her pulse race faster. Who doesn't ask to be chosen because he is the standard she now measures others against. This isn't game. It's real power, anchored in presence, sharpened by experience, made magnetic through restraint. And once a woman feels that, she doesn't want options. She wants you, not because of what you say, but because of what you are: steady, clear, decisive. A man who doesn't need to raise his voice to shift the room. Hold that identity. Live it in your posture, your words, your choices. Because from now on, you're not just another man she meets. You're the one she hopes will choose her, and quietly fears she may not deserve.